AI Legal Deep Dive with Eric, Sophia, Dia. Seton Hall's Blah, 4320 AA, Teen 5. Here to shatter assumptions. Most people believe the governance gap we see today is merely a result of slow legislators or bureaucratic inertia. That is not the case. Our core argument is simple, but it is radical. We are facing a structural mismatch that goes deeper than policy. Artificial intelligence operates on distributed causation, where decisions emerge from layers of data and code. Yet, our entire legal system is built on the foundation of centralized attribution. It demands a human hand, a specific intent. We are trying to govern a dynamic, evolving agent with a framework designed for static, predictable tools. The law is not just lagging behind the curve, it is running on a different track entirely. Let us begin. Parker, the heart of this issue is that we are forcing 21st century technology into a 19th century box. Sophia, walk us through why our current legal doctrine is essentially a trap. Think about the way we evaluate responsibility today. Our entire legal system is built on the search for a smoking gun. It requires a single point of failure, a clear line of causation. If a machine fails, we look for the engineer who wrote the bad code or the operator who pushed the wrong button. But artificial intelligence does not work that way. It is a black box. It functions through millions of parameters. When we look at a decision made by an algorithm, we are not looking at a single human choice. We are looking at a statistical output. We are demanding accountability from a process that is designed to diffuse it. The doctrine assumes we can always find the person pulling the strings. We are left asking who is liable, while the system itself continues to operate in a space where traditional blame simply does not stick. Let us apply this to a concrete scenario. Consider the hiring algorithms now standard in major firms. A candidate submits an application, the system processes the data, and a rejection notice arrives within seconds. Who is liable for that decision? Is it the software developer who built the initial architecture? Is it the HR manager who set the parameters? Or is it the dataset curator who fed the machine its historical biases? Our legal system is paralyzed here because it demands a smoking gun. It hunts for a single point of failure, a clear moment where a human made a choice that led directly to a discriminatory outcome. But the algorithm does not offer that. It provides a score, a probability, a black box output derived from millions of weighted variables. When we try to trace the path back to a human actor, the trail goes cold. Real-time collapse of old liability. Eric, you have been tracking the legal fallout of these systems. Does this theory hold up in a courtroom? Eric, it is not just theory anymore. Look at the Workday class action lawsuit. Court hears AI hiring bias claims. Rejections pattern harms clear mark. They argue they merely provided the tool. They claim they are just the software vendor, not the employer. They insist that the actual decision to hire or reject remains with the human HR manager. It is a perfect deflection. The company says it is the user's fault, and the user says it is the machine's fault. This is the attribution crisis in its purest form. The law is looking for a villain, but the architecture of the system is designed to diffuse fault across the entire chain. So we have to ask, why are we still trying to force a square peg into a round hole? We keep demanding a who in a system designed to eliminate the who entirely. Eric, exactly. The entire architecture is built to diffuse fault. If you look at the chain of causation, it is not a line anymore. It is a web. Sophia. And that creates a profound sense of legal paralysis. Our courts are built on the bedrock of human agency. But when the system is a black box of millions of parameters, where does the negligence reside? It is as if we are chasing a ghost. We have the harm, we have the victims, but we have no defendant. Parker, that is the core of the crisis. We are operating in a space where justice is becoming unreachable. Dia. But let us pause for a moment. Are we overcomplicating this? Why is this not just a standard product liability issue? We have dealt with defective machinery for decades. If a lathe malfunctions or a conveyor belt snaps, we do not call it a structural crisis. We call it a manufacturing defect. We have established legal frameworks to handle broken tools. Why should AI be treated as anything other than a complex piece of equipment? If the software fails, is that not just a bug in the system? Sophia. That is a tempting parallel, but it ignores the core of the problem. A lathe is a static object. It does exactly what the gears and motors dictate. It does not evolve. Dia. But a machine is a machine, regardless of how many lines of code are running in the background. If it causes harm, the manufacturer should be held to the same standards. Eric, that is where the analogy breaks down. A traditional machine does not learn. It does not ingest new data and change its own internal logic. We are talking about an agent that shifts its output in real time. The law assumes a product that stays the same. AI is a moving target. That is exactly the point where the law hits a wall. A lathe does not wake up one morning and decide to cut differently, because it saw a new pattern in the wood. It is a static product. It performs the same action today as it did the day it left the assembly line. But AI is fundamentally different. It is a dynamic, evolving agent that learns and adjusts its output based on the data it consumes in real time. So you are saying the product is never finished? Parker, precisely. The law assumes a product is a snapshot in time, a fixed object with defined risks. But AI is a moving target. It is constantly rewriting its own internal logic based on new inputs. When a developer releases an AI, they are not releasing a finished tool. They are releasing a process. If that process evolves into something harmful, how can the law hold the original developer accountable for a state the software did not reach until months after it was deployed? We are trying to apply a static, 20th century doctrine of product liability to a 21st century technology that refuses to stay the same. It is not just a bug in the code. It is a structural failure of our legal framework to recognize that the product is no longer a thing, but a behavior. Parker, let us move this into the real world. Look at the credit industry. Banks now rely on AI models to approve or deny loan applications in seconds. When a system rejects a borrower, it often cites a lack of creditworthiness. But what if that decision is built on proxy variables? Eric, that is the crux of the issue. The AI might not be explicitly programmed to look at race, but it identifies zip codes, shopping habits, or even social connections that correlate perfectly with demographic data. It finds a pattern that mimics discrimination without ever using the word they. So the bank can look a regulator in the eye and claim they never programmed the system to discriminate. They argue the model is neutral because the code contains no racial parameters. Parker, exactly. They hide behind the math. They claim the machine is just optimizing for risk, yet the outcome is a clear disparate impact. Sophia, and this is where the law breaks down. We are trying to prove intent in a system that does not have a human mind. The bank says it was the algorithm. The algorithm is just a black box, Sophia. But let us push that further. The law requires us to prove intent, or at least a foreseeable disparate impact. But how do we prove intent for a decision that no human mind actually made? We are hunting for a motive in a machine that only understands probability. Dia. That is the ultimate paradox. We are demanding a smoking gun, a single traceable moment of human malice, in a system that is designed to diffuse its logic across millions of parameters. Parker, if the AI identifies a pattern that no human programmer ever conceived, then the programmer cannot be said to have intended that outcome. The law is built on the assumption that an action flows from a human will, but here, the action flows from the data. Eric, so we are essentially asking the court to put a black box on trial. If we cannot explain the internal logic of the model, we cannot establish the mens rea. Sophia, exactly. The foundation is crumbling. We are witnessing the obsolescence of the very concept of legal fault. Eric, we have to stop pretending this is a minor glitch. We are trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Our entire legal system is built on the assumption of a single identifiable actor, but AI is designed to diffuse responsibility across an entire architecture. Dia. So you are saying the system is working exactly as intended, and that is the problem? Eric, exactly. The architecture is built for efficiency, not for accountability. We keep asking who is at fault when the system is designed to make that question impossible to answer. Parker, it is a structural mismatch. We are looking for a human hand on the lever, but the lever doesn't exist anymore. The machine is the lever, Sophia. And by focusing on the individual, we are missing the forest for the trees. We are litigating the symptoms while the underlying structure remains completely untouchable. Dia, if the architecture itself is the source of the harm, then our current tort law is not just outdated, it is fundamentally incompatible with the technology. Eric, we are not just behind the curve. We are operating on a different track entirely. The law assumes a human is pulling the strings, but the strings have been cut. Dia, if we accept this is an architectural mismatch, what is the fix? Are we looking at a fundamental top-to-bottom rewrite of tort law? Parker, perhaps. Or we move toward a model of strict liability for AI operators, regardless of intent. But that carries a massive cost. It effectively shifts the burden of risk entirely onto the creators, Sophia. And that is the trap. If we impose strict liability, we might protect the citizen, but we risk killing the very innovation we are trying to regulate. We are stuck between two impossible choices. Eric, it is a zero-sum game. Either we allow the technology to evolve without guardrails, or we impose a liability structure that makes development financially suicidal. Dia. So we are essentially debating the death of the industry to save the integrity of the law. Parker. That is the reality. Sophia. We are standing at the edge of a cliff, and the law is not equipped to tell us if we can fly or if we are about to fall. Parker, let us push this to the edge. If we mandate strict liability, we hold the operator responsible for every outcome, intentional or not. Does that not effectively end the era of rapid AI iteration? It would force a crawl. Companies would spend more on legal insurance than on research and development. The pace of innovation would hit a brick wall. Sophia, but look at the alternative. Without strict liability, the citizen is left holding the bag for every algorithmic failure. We are prioritizing the speed of code over the safety of people. Eric, it is a binary trap. If we prioritize safety, we stifle progress. If we prioritize progress, we abandon accountability. Is there a middle ground? Parker? I do not think so. The law is a blunt instrument, and AI is a scalpel. We are trying to perform surgery with a sledgehammer. Dia. So we are left with a choice between a stagnant industry and a lawless frontier. Sophia, the liability debate is about the cost of our future. Parker, let us shift focus to the regulatory side. The EU AI Act is currently the gold standard for risk categorization, but is it enough to bridge this gap? Sophia, it is a start, but it relies heavily on transparency requirements. The problem is that transparency is a hollow promise if the system is too complex for the engineer to explain. Eric, exactly. If we demand a detailed disclosure of how a model reached a decision, but the model is a black box of millions of parameters, what are we actually getting? We are getting a document that says we do not know why it did that. Dia. So the transparency requirement becomes a performative act. It satisfies the letter of the law while completely ignoring the reality of the architecture. Sophia. That is the crux of it. We are asking for a plain English explanation of a non-human process. It is like asking a neural network to write a confession. It can generate the words, but it cannot convey the intent. And that is why the EU approach feels like a stopgap. It is trying to force a human-readable narrative onto a machine-driven outcome. It is a regulatory band-aid on a structural wound. We are not solving the problem. We are just documenting our own confusion. Eric, this brings us back to our core argument. The law is built on the foundation of human agency. AI removes that agency, yet we keep building statutes that assume a human is always pulling the strings. Sophia, we are not just behind the curve. We are on a different track entirely. Dia, so, if we accept this is an architectural mismatch, where does that leave us? Are we staring at the obsolescence of our current legal system? Parker, perhaps. Or we are witnessing the birth of a new, unrecognizable form of governance. The challenge is that we cannot wait for the law to catch up. The technology is moving at the speed of light, while our courts are still operating in the age of the printing press. Eric, it is a fundamental collision. We are trying to govern a dynamic, evolving agent with a static, human-centric doctrine. Sophia. And that is the reality we have to face. The gap is not closing, it is widening. Parker, the question is no longer if the law will break, but how we rebuild it.